Well, here we are once again. Good morning to you. Good morning to all of you out there. This is another great opportunity, as you know, for us to get a chance to collectively come together and talk about some of these things that matter the most. Some of these things that are very, very important. Some of these things that are so significant. And there's so many things in this life right now that let's just be honest. There's so many things in this life that just don't seem to add up. And it's funny how every time we get a chance to come together, we always talking about something that seems to shift the way we see things. It moves things from a different area of your life to a different perspective of your understanding. And this is why we come together to talk about a lot of the things that seem to matter the most when it comes to your mental real of state. How real is this thing? How real is this mental real of state? When it comes to your mind, your mentality, the things that we do, the people that we connect with, why we do what we do. Every single day seems to propose its own challenges, and we always seem to find ways to get to the other side of that and get right back here to talk about mental real of state. Today is no different, guys, as I get ready to get into another opportunity to share some time with you. But before I even do that, I got to ask you the great question: how was your weekend? Did you spend time with somebody that you love? Did you spend time with somebody that loved you back? Did you get an opportunity to grow from somebody that may just say something that enlightens your life or just changes the course of your direction and your perspective, that helps you learn more every single day about yourself? Today is another great opportunity to talk about mental real estate, because we're talking about the positive and negative contributors to your mindset. And what does that mean for you? Absolutely everything. And today is no different as we get ready to dig in to another aspect of your mental real of state. So before I even continue any further, let me just move on into this life application, because today is another great day for us to discuss and talk about this life application. Now, I can remember a time, listen, y'all, I'm telling you, oh my God, there were just so many things about childhood that I remember. And the thing is, not everything that I have in childhood is for me to remember, but let me help you understand some things about childhood. I can remember those days of growing up as a kid, and I used to play with my brothers and my cousins. And you know what? I can remember being like, I was actually the youngest one out of all of us. I was the youngest. And we used to run around and we would play and all the time. And I used to get mad because those guys would run off. They would take off. Not only did they take off, they would leave me behind. Now, here's the thing is, when you're a child and you're running around all your older siblings, they would take off and run and leave you. And a lot of times what would happen? You would probably cry. I'm talking about when you was younger. Now, I'm talking about when you were a teenager. I'm talking about when you was that kid and you would run off and you would probably cry, because a lot of times people would just run off and leave you. And you say, oh my gosh, why are you leaving me? A lot of times I remember as a kid, I'd be hollering, wait for me, wait for me. Did they stop and wait for me? Absolutely not. They said, you better catch up, is what they told me. Now, that's funny, because I can remember running and being left behind, and the feeling that it was to be left behind by your cousins or your siblings, and it was just something. But there's something else I can also remember. Now, this is going to be a little bit transparent, but I want to help you understand something today. I can remember the times when we was a kid, and when we was a kid, they would tell you, you need to go take a shower. You remember that? Because now I wasn't old enough to where I was actually smelling myself yet, because that was puberty. But this is way before that. Now, way before that, I can remember my dad used to tell me, boy, go in there and wash yourself up. Now, my transparency about this whole going into the bathroom and getting myself in the shower has many memories. Now, many memories. But I'm going to share one of them with you. And one of those memories is when I remember getting in the shower, and I didn't always want to, not necessarily take a shower, but as you can remember, there were people that used to say you would be scared of water. Boy, why are you so scared of water? Do you remember that? When people would act like they were so terrified of water. Now, let me tell you what happened. My dad told me to go get in the shower, so I go get in the shower. Now, I had to remember this so I could tell you, but I had to go get in the shower. And as I got in the shower, I can remember I was like, I'm not really feeling up to this right now. and I had the shower on, and my dad said, Mikey, are you in the shower? I said, yes, sir. Now, he checked on me while I was in the shower. He said, are you in the shower? I said, yes, sir. And so as I'm standing in the shower, the water's running, you know, and then I'm letting it maybe trickle on me and stuff. And my dad went back and then all of a sudden he decided he's going to come into the bathroom and really check on me. So he says again, "Boy, are you in that shower?" I said, "Yes, sir." So when I actually looked over, my dad had grabbed the shower curtain, pulled it back. And when he pulled back the shower curtain, I was standing at the back of the shower like this. And when my dad seen I was standing at the back of the shower, he got so angry at me. I mean, listen, he grabbed me and he just commenced to washing me and scrubbing me. "Boy, didn't I tell you to get in that shower?" Now I'm thinking, what is it about this shower that really got me bugged? But check this out, guys. It's crazy to think that all these years later, I can remember how I got disciplined and in trouble because I got caught standing in the back of the shower. But now let me go back and enlighten you guys, because I can remember a time when I was that little boy, when I was much younger, much younger. And as I was much younger, I remember going to a pool. Now let me help you. I'm going to paint this picture for you. I can remember going to the pool. And as I went to the pool, I can remember me and my brother. I can remember us going to the swimming pool. I can remember us hanging around the swimming pool. But let me tell you what the vivid memory of it is. The truth of the matter is, I fell in the pool. I fell in the pool, but I couldn't swim. I literally could not swim. And now I'm thinking, as a child, I'm in this pool, and as much as I kicked and as much as I dragged to try to get myself out of that water, I couldn't swim. And the vivid memory that I have is seeing everything go still. I could see everything. I'm in the water. I could see around the water. I'm in a swimming pool. And I can remember vividly that I literally was drowning. I didn't have any air. I was in a still moment in my life and in my time. But I remember a hand coming down through the water. I remember a hand reaching down into the water and grabbing me and pulling me out of the pool. Now, the thing is that as that hand grabbed me and pulled me out, the next thing I remember was kind of coming to, and I'm laying on my back. And the reality of it is that I was drowning in the swimming pool. Now, you can remember me just telling you about what it was like when I got in trouble for my dad, because I got in trouble, literally in trouble, because I got caught standing in the back of the shower. Well, the thing about that is, as a child, they would tell you, "Why are you so scared of water?" But they didn't understand, and this is something I don't really talk about. I've hardly ever shared. But the fact is, I can always remember the trauma from being under the water. Now, being under the water caused me to stop breathing. It caused me to stop movement. The only thing I could do was visually see, but I couldn't breathe. And then I can remember that hand coming into the water and grabbing me and yanking me out of the pool because I was going under, deeply under. Now, when it comes to life, your mental real estate, the perspective of your thought, we're talking about drowning. Not just drowning, but, you know, sometimes it seems like, as you heard me earlier, how my cousins would lead me when I try to run and keep up with them. And I was younger and they would run off and leave me. And I said, "Please don't leave me." And I would be almost terrified that I was being left behind. And as I was being left behind, I hollered out to them. And what they said to me was, "You better keep up." Now, when it comes to that, we're talking about something that seems to be important, but yet still significant. And that is something about that race, that run, that race. Because, you know, it's funny how we live this life and we move in different areas and we do different things. But then I also talked about what? Drowning. Talking about, literally in my mind, I was talking about drowning. But let me help you with something, because you remember when I was telling you how I got in trouble for my dad because I got caught standing in the back of the shower when I was actually supposed to be taking a shower. But I had to help you understand and build the relationship of why it seemed like that shower, it was so dangerous to me, because I had a fear of water covering my face where I could not breathe. I couldn't breathe. But let's fast forward, because how does this relationship tie into the mental real estate? Because years later, I personally had a son. Now check this out. I had a son, and I can remember the day of telling my son, son, you need to go take a shower. And my son said, okay, Dad. And I can remember distinctly going in and say, hey, are you in the shower? He said, yeah. Now this thing replayed itself like a comic book. You could never script it any better than that. So I go through and I said, boy, are you in the shower? Now that's me. I'm Dad now. Now, as my son is in the shower, I'm looking around and I said, you know, are you in that shower? He said, yes, sir. So I did what I was doing around the house for a while. And eventually I said, you know, it's been a while. That boy, he ain't got out of the shower yet. So I said, boy, are you in that shower? He said, yes, sir. And guess what happened? Oh my God, guess what happened? So I had to go into the bathroom. And when I pulled the shirt and the shower curtain back, guess who's standing at the back of the shower? My own son, doing exactly what I did, about the same age that I was, and about the same time that I did. Now, here's what's crazy about that, is I was so upset with him for not taking his shower, I couldn't even do anything about it. Why? Because listen, the trauma of my life had existed even into my adulthood, that the fact that I was not just petrified or terrified of water, because I knew what it was like to take a shower, but if anybody even knew about me, they would know that I would get my own shower, I would get cleaned up. But it was always difficult for me to wash my hair. It was difficult for me to do what? Put my face under the water. Now here it is. You have to practice at positivity when it comes to trauma. Let me say that again. You have to practice positivity when it comes to trauma. What does that mean, Professor Freeland? The fact is, when you're talking about traumas that you dealt with at some point in your life, where does it come into the point where that trauma starts to turn? When it starts to rotate, when it goes from one side that was so traumatic to a side where now you can tolerate it a little bit. You can actually exercise some positive things that help you to get through the traumatic things in your life. But what I didn't count on is that all these years later, when I had my son, that some of the things that got to me had embedded itself so deep that it transferred almost as a habit or a routine into my own child. And I didn't expect that. Now, why didn't I expect that? Because I thought that at some point in my life, I had overcome that thing called the trauma of what? Drowning, running, the trauma of being left behind. Now, here's the thing about this race. It's funny because we think a lot of time the object of the race is to win. It is. The object of the race is to win. But let me help you another thing about this thing called the race. When it comes to your mental real estate, the concepts that we think about, I'm running my race, but I want to run to win. No, I want to run to finish. No, that sounds good. That is what is relevant. That's what the topic would normally be. How did you finish? But let me help you with another shot of your mental real estate. Running the race is not just to cross the line. Running the race is not just to finish. Running the race is about surviving. Now, how do you say that when you're running a race? Isn't the object to line up to run? The race is to finish, is to actually be in first place, is to actually cross that finish line. Yes, it is. But what does it say? Let me dig into a couple of things because I want to help somebody understand when it talks about the race, because I got to build this in. Ecclesiastes 9 and 11. I'm going to give you just a piece of what it says here. It says, the race is not what? Given to the swift, nor the strong. Now, if it says the race is not given to the swift, that means the fastest person out here, the race isn't given to you, nor the strong. Because listen, you know people who are fast, you know people who can get across that finish line, but you also know people who have strength, very good brute strength, and they can do things better than you, do things faster than you, do things swifter than you, get to the matter at hand and come across that finish line. But it says the race is not given to the swift nor the strong. Now, are you one of those people? Yeah, I'm not. There's nothing against people from being strong. There's nothing against people for being swift. There's nothing against people from being quickly and enough and being the one to the finish line. There's nothing against that. But I'm speaking to the one who has been broken, who has been weakened. I'm speaking to the one who has drowned. That's funny because even though I told you I was drowning, that was a very real thing for me. But as I drowned and I was laying in that pool and there was nothing I could do because my body had lost its physical abilities, the only thing that I had left was the sight and whatever time I had left until somebody pulled me out of that pool. Now it's something because people can never relate to somebody who has drowned if they have never experienced drowning. Let me say that again. People can never relate to somebody who has drowned if you've never experienced drowning. They can give you all this ideology, all this conversation. They can tell you what it's like. They can tell you what you're going to experience. But if you have never been somebody who has ever been drowning, you would never understand the concept of being drowned. What does it really mean when it comes to being drowned? You lose the things that you believe in. You lose the faith. Then you lose the consciousness of what it takes to maintain your abilities. Your body goes numb. Your mind is the only thing holding on. And lastly, the things that you see may be the very last things you ever touch until somebody pulls you out. And just like that race, as you run, you may be the one left behind. You may be the one who can't keep up. You may be the one who sees something different in life, but you know what? Other people that seem to be moving ahead of you are going so swiftly, and you're looking back like, wait for me. I'm coming. Don't leave me. And they tell you, you better keep up. And a lot of times when people are trying to keep up, they lose their drive. They lose their willingness. They lose their motivation to continue in that race. But here's the thing that I'm saying to you. It says in Ecclesiastes 9:11 that the race is not given to the swift. It's not given to the swift nor the strong. So who is the race really given to? Who is the race given to? So let's move ahead to Matthew 24:13, where it says, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. The one who stands firm. The one who endures to the end. It didn't say endure to the finish line. It didn't say endure till you get first place. It said endure to the end. The end of what? In your mental real estate. The end of the life that we live. Because I want to encourage somebody, because a lot of times we're thinking because if the race is not given to the swift nor the strong, who is the race actually going to be given to? Who? Is it you? Is it me? Is the reasons that we move because we're fast, because we're strong? Is because we can handle it? We know the challenges that are coming before us. We understand that what's coming for us is going to be something that's going to shake us to the core of our foundation. If it was all of that and everything was made so easy, why would the book tell you that the race is not given to the swift nor the strong, but yet still we believe that the swift and the strong are the ones who endure and survive? They told you growing up to be strong. They told you to be swift. They told you to be fast. You got to be the one to that finish line. Don't let nobody cross that line before you do. And if you can't be the fastest, you work at being the fastest. If you can't be the strongest, you work at becoming stronger. But listen, there's a set group of people out here that may never be fast. I live with the leg condition. I tried to run the race. I tried to get to the finish line first, and I was dead last. And as much as I wanted to cry in front of all these people that were laughing at me as I'm running down this track, I was wanting to say, please wait for me. I'm running as fast as I can, but I can't keep up with you. But please wait for me. And just as they did as they were supposed to do, they ran that race and they finished that race. But then as I got older, I started realizing and understanding that when it comes to this thing that we call the race of life, people are going to be left behind. Why are you getting left behind in a race that you know that you have to run? Because it wasn't for you to finish first. It wasn't for you to just cross the finish line. It wasn't for you to go. It was for you to endure. Let me say this again. It was for you to endure. Now, what are you enduring when you're in a race and people are trying to run all around you? They're running circles around you. Your feet cannot move fast enough to maintain and sustain the race. But are you in the race? You would think if you're in the race, and listen, you still got what? A chance. But listen, it says in the book, who are you thinking that you really are when I just told you that the race is not given to the swift nor the strong? But we're trying to be so quick. In a fast generation that it is now, the world moves at rapid speeds and we're trying to be so fast. We are trying to move so swift that, listen, we're creating an intelligence that's beyond ours and asking it to think for us when we know that God has given us everything that we need to be able to what? Function in our mental real estate. Your capacity does not, let me say this now, this is what I mean, and this is my opinion. Your capacity does not lie in the ability for AI. Yes, we taught it. But now we expect it to teach us. If everything that God has given you was to come through a machine, why would he need you? If everything that God told us to do was going to come through the ideology of something that was created that is supposed to think for us, why would he need you? That's because, listen, the race is not given to the swift, so what's your hurry? Nor is it to the strong, so what's your strength? People are afraid to be and admit that at times in lives there are weaknesses. There are places in our lives. But it says also, but to those who stand firm, those who endure to the end will be saved. Now listen, your endurance is something else. Why? Now I'm getting ready to point it out to you. It said to those who endure. Now listen, some of us are still creating the same sins that we prayed about this morning. Some of us will go through the same pattern of the sin that we just prayed about last night today. Some of us are going to continue to move in areas of our lives that we're touching other people, but yet still we have our own struggles that we got to pray for today. But what did it say? For those who endure. Now, enduring doesn't mean that when you have to say your prayer because you know you've done wrong or maybe things you don't know. That's why the Bible tells you to pray and ask for repentance daily. Daily, because you can never know where you've offended somebody and you can never know where your sin has occurred because of the rigors of daily living. But it said those to endure to the end, not to the finish line. Y'all want to see a finish line with the tape and they got the clicker and time. But I'm talking about enduring. That means when you endure, you're going through. When you endure, you're dealing with persecution. When you endure, you're dealing with suffering. When you endure, you're dealing with hurt, pain, stress, anxiety. When you're enduring, you are going through to the end. Wherever your end is. I wanted to encourage you today because when I'm talking to you about this was a reality for me. I thought about that thing and I said, you know what happened? I thought about that thing where my life was doing something at a young age and I ended up falling into that swimming pool and I couldn't breathe. I didn't know how to swim. I didn't know what to look for and I was underwater and I couldn't even cry out to tell anybody I was down here in this pool. Somebody had to see me. Listen to me. Somebody had to see me and recognize that I was in a swimming pool without the ability to get myself out. And they had to reach down. And all I could see was that hand that came into the water and snatched me out of the pool before I got too deep underneath the water. And it saved my life. It saved my life. Now, here's the thing about it. It saved my life to the point that I could be right here, right now today. But let me explain something to you. The trauma of being saved doesn't always put you in a position to expect that everything is going to work out just right. Because just as I survived that, just as I've lived my life, what happened with that trauma from drowning and not realizing that the water that covered my face was the same water that was going to kill me is what caused me to stand in the back of that shower and stand away from the water, because every time I thought the water touched my face, I felt myself drowning. But what I didn't understand is that when I had my first son, the same thing that I dealt with at the young age, a very tender age, was the same thing I seen and experienced my son go through. But guess what happened? My son never drowned. He never had the experience of being in the swimming pool. He never knew what it was like to lose all of his senses except sight and to have somebody snatch him out of the water. My son didn't know that. But I'm watching my son go through the same traumatic experience that I had when I was a little boy. But why is that? Because I didn't exercise the positivity of my trauma. And because I didn't exercise positive things to help me through my trauma of nearly drowning, I ended up passing that same thing that people would laugh at and say, oh, you just scared of the water. Why are you acting so scared of the water? They had no idea. And I'm telling you this because I've never said this before. They had no idea that I was laying in that pool, floating underneath the water. But because I didn't handle the trauma appropriately through the years, I saw the same thing in my own son. And he never knew where it came from. So I have to encourage you guys today. When I said the race is not given to the swift, nor the strong, I'm begging you to just endure. Just endure. Enduring doesn't mean that you're weak. Enduring doesn't mean that you're just going to miss out. Enduring doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that people are always going to wait for you. Enduring doesn't mean that people are going to stand by and just be your support. So stop looking for the support where you don't see a crutch. There are no kickstands in this life. You're going to have to walk. You're going to have to move. You're going to have to survive. Because I said to you before, it's not about crossing the finish line, or even if you finish last. The idea of the race is to endure, aka survive. Your life is too important and it matters to too many people to think that you're just going to drown. You're just going to allow yourself to go underneath and never come back again. But let me help you with what I told you earlier. That even though I couldn't move, I couldn't cry out, nobody could hear me above the surface of the water as I lay inside of this water and I'm losing my life in front of my own eyes. And the only thing I seen was that hand come down and snatch me out of the water. There are places and people in life every single day that sometimes you're just waiting because you're drowning with your eyes open. You're drowning and you can't breathe. You're drowning in the life that you live and you can't cry out to tell somebody, I can't do it. I can't make it. But you're in the position for somebody to reach you. You're in the position where somebody can reach down and grab a hold of you and bring you out just to give you a chance to live the life that you have. Because the trauma and the traumatic experience, if we're not careful, will follow you into your next generation. It will follow you to the ones you love. It will follow you to the ones you care for, because you haven't addressed the positivity of creating a positive environment from the trauma that you have suffered. You have to deal with you every single day. You have to grow with you every single day. You have to cry with you every single day. You have to manifest with you every single day. You have to pour within you every single day. Because if you don't, you're going to go under. And you won't even have eyes to see or ears to hear what comes for you when it's time for you to look up. Somebody will save you. Somebody will save you. Now listen, this isn't for everybody that's a believer. Everybody doesn't believe, let's be honest. I'm talking to somebody who may not know what it's like to have a relationship with God, who may not know the Jesus we know, that may not know what it's like that there's an afterlife. They may not know, but they're still falling under the water. And we have an obligation, people. We got an obligation to do something to change the culture, to change the way, to stop telling people you better keep up, to stop telling people you better find your way out, to stop walking past those that are laying underneath the surface because we don't know where they came from, what they've been through, and what's happening for them right now. You are the difference maker. Your mental real estate. Understand the capacity that you carry when you have an obligation to serve those that are around you, to recognize those that may be drowning, because you are going to be the hand that reaches down and pulls them up, giving them a chance. Just a chance is all we asking for, Lord. Just a chance. Just as you was given a chance, somebody that may not know him deserves the same chance you got, deserves the same opportunity. The same things that you got is forwarded to every single one of us. Who are we to deny it? If we were never denied ourselves, who are we to deny? When you were drowning, you give life. When you were running and it got slow for you, you hold up. You wait. You bring somebody along with you. If it's lonely at the top, stay down there till you find somebody to bring up with you. That's what it's all about, guys, because this is your Monday Mental Real Estate with yours truly, Dr. Michael Freeland, helping you understand this race. When it comes to those things, we grow up in learning and living and understanding there's more to this life than meets the eye. There's more to this life than we think. There's more to this life than you can actually ever believe or even fathom. But the good thing about this life is that we have an opportunity. You got a chance. Again. You got a chance again, and you got a chance again. Don't stop praying. Don't stop giving up. Don't drown in the water. But if you've ever had the experience of drowning, that's when you draw a true understanding of what this thing feels like. People are suffering. And I'm not just talking like it sounds like a cliche thing to say, people are suffering. No, we know it. We know it. And your hand may be the very hand that reaches out and gets somebody to that place of safety, giving them a chance. Because when they come out of that, there's going to be some trauma. There's going to be some pain. There's going to be some suffering. There's going to be some hard memories from all of that. But build your positive things around your healing and your trauma. Build positivity around trauma. You don't treat trauma with just trying to get over it. You build positive experiences around your trauma so that the trauma can diminish. And as it diminishes, you'll see that positivity come up. You'll gain your confidence. You'll build more into yourself, and you'll learn how to love others as you learn to love yourself. Hey, this is yours truly, Professor Dr. Michael Freeland. I can't apologize for the emotion. It was intentional today. I wasn't trying to cry, but I was definitely trying to make sure that the point got across, and I hope you guys can understand today. But thank you for taking your time for tuning in Monday Mental Real Estate with yours truly, Dr. Professor Michael Freeland. As I move forward, please move along with me. Let us all go together. I ain't trying to leave nobody, and I don't want to be left behind either. I used to be that kid asking people to not leave me. But today's a different day. Today's a different opportunity for a different one. And you might be that one, or you might know that one. Get back to it, guys. Your Monday Mental Real Estate with yours truly, Professor Dr. Michael Freeland. Let's stay above so we don't go under. Let me shout some people out and I'll let you go, Ebony Saunders. This has to be good if Ebony Saunders speaks, y'all. She's always here watching and observing, and she hardly ever says anything. So if you see her say anything, it's got to be good. Thank you, Eb, my assistant, for helping me out. My Ebony is my assistant here in the U.S., always maintaining and helping things move along in mental real estate. Ambassador Jesse, all the way from Kenya, is my other. This is my international assistant, all the way in the international from Kenya, doing it big time. Thank you so much, Ambassador Jesse, for being in here as well. We're doing many things. Chandrika McDowell, the author, thank you so much for being a part of Mental Real Estate, where we're doing so many things to help one another. continue to grow as we know. Let's keep going. William Smith, what's going on, sir? I appreciate you. Always. Great, man. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all that you do, sir. Jetta Thompson, good morning. I love you too. Thank you so much for being a part of this. We're continuing to move forward intentionally because we all want to make it intentionally where we need to be going. We can't afford to leave anybody behind. It is our obligation and responsibility to do what is necessary to help other people to see the light on the other side, because hope is one thing that always abides. And let us continue to move forward, y'all. And last but not least, if I miss anyone, I see my big brother just hopped in, as always. Thank you, big bro. Antoine Montu for tuning in to Monday Mental Real Estate. Listen to the replay if you miss it. And last but not least, my lifeblood, my mama. Mother, I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in, being my rock, my support system, being all that I need and everything that matters to me. Thank you, mama, for loving your son. Thank you for showing what the love of a mother can really do to help uplift and elevate your own. I love you and thank you. Have a great day and God bless you all. I know I went long today, but you know what? This one of them days I didn't care. I couldn't afford to. I can't afford to miss something that can help somebody. I can't afford to miss anything that's going to help elevate somebody's mentality, because it starts right here. It's not all this physical stuff. It starts right here in the mind. So as a man thinketh, so is he. So listen, let's keep elevating. God bless you all. Have yourself a safe day. We'll talk again soon, all right? God bless you. Bye-bye, guys.